Hello everyone, my name is Tamás Faragó. I'm a postdoc researcher at the Department of Ethology at Laurent University, and I'm working on animal communication, how emotions are reflected in vocalizations of animals and humans. But before we go into details, I would like to thank the work of my dear colleagues András, Rita, Paula and Vicky. Without them, there would be no study to present today. So let's see how whines might communicate emotions in the following slides. How can we study this? As an ethologist, we can explore the interaction between animals. In a communicative interaction, there are two partners, a signaler and a receiver. And the special states of the nervous system of the signaler individual, the so-called emotions, can affect their behavior. And these behaviors can be specialized behaviors like vocalizations that act as signals in this interaction, reflecting in their parameters the intensity or the quality of the emotion of the signaler, and through affecting the receiver's emotional state, they can change the behavior of the receiver accordingly. As an ethologist, we can record the behavior of the signaler alongside with their signals, and we can analyze how the parameters of the signal correlates with the intensity of the behavior, and from this we can deduce the inner state of the signaler individual. So for example, changing the arousal level through a fearful animal can reflect anxiety, fear or panic, and this can be reflected in different levels or intensity of escape behaviors, and their vocalizations can contain parameters that correlate with this kind of intensity differences. So we, from the signals, so the vocal parameters of the vocalizations, we can explore the stress level of the individual. And one parameter can be really promising in this case, the so-called noisiness or the tonality, the opposite of noisiness of these vocalizations. If we listen to this vocalization pair, we can hear there's a qualitative difference between these two. The first one is clean, the second one is harsh and noisy. And this noisiness can be due to the so-called nonlinear phenomena, sudden abrupt changes and unpredictable changes in the tonality of the vocalization. And these can have different functions. For example, due to anatomical asymmetries, which are quite individually specific, they can carry individual information in the vocalization, and as they are really unpredictable, they can have a really strong attention grabbing effect. Accordingly, they are quite common in cries and alarm calls. And what is interesting for us the most, the inner state can be reflected through the appearance of such noisiness in the vocalizations, as the aroused inner state can affect the movements of the the muscles involved in the vocal production. They can result in stronger exhalation and more stretched vocal folds, which can promote the appearance of such noisy elements in the vocalization. To study this, we used separation. Separation is an involuntary segregation from the social partner. This is quite common in normal life. It's part of the behavioral repertoire, but it induces stress. It can be mild stress, or in some other cases very high stress, depending on the situation or the individual. And these result in special vocalizations, the so-called separation cries. These are high-pitched, clean vocalizations and repetitive vocalizations which contain these harsh nonlinear phenomena. And it is this kind of behavior and this kind of vocalizations are quite common in family dogs. In separation and different separation-related behaviors are often indicated as problem behaviors by owners. But how can these be problematic? In some cases, these behaviors can be so severe that it can hazard the dog-owner relationship. For example, signs or symptoms of separation-related problem include excessive vocalization, destruction of the property or objects, soiling, food and water rejection, and can really have severe welfare consequences. So to study how whines, dog whines and vocalizations reflect this stress level of the individual, we performed separation tests. These short separations, these were 3-minute separations. At first, the owner was present with the dog in the laboratory, but after 1 minute, they left the room and left the dog behind in this empty room. And during the 3-minute period, we recorded the vocalizations and the behavior of the individual. Behaviors like movement, jumping up at the door, scratching the wall, tail wagging, chair-directed behaviors, and so on. So in the study, there were almost 200 dogs participating, but only 121 dogs whined, which were then included in this analysis. And from the behavior, we, based on co-occurrence of different behaviors, we created different behavioral scales, like activity, which included the movement, amount of movement, panting or chair-directed behaviors, escape attempts, which were rearing up at the door or the wall, scratching and barking, and tail wagging and other vocalizations were forming a third behavioral scale. And from the recorded whines, we measured the tonality, the overall tonality of the different whines, and also were looking for the occurrences and the frequencies of the nonlinear phenomena, these abrupt changes within one vocalization. And what we found, that in case of dogs which suffer from separation related problems according to the owner, more individual produced whines with nonlinear phenomena, which means that their whines were harsher compared to those dogs that had no separation problem according to the owner. Interestingly, dogs with prior traumatic life events like being in shelter or being lost or these kind of negative life experiences had noisier whines compared to those dogs which had no such experiences. We also found that several noisiness parameters were in correlation with different levels of behaviors. So, for example, those dogs which were more active during the 3-minute separation had noisier whines during these 3 minutes. And also dogs which try to escape more from the situation, they also had noisier whines. Interestingly, older dogs had more nonlinear phenomena in their whines, and also overall they had less noisy vocalizations. So what did we learn from all of these? It seems that dog separation behavior is reflected in their vocalizations, especially in their whines. Higher activity and escape patterns were coming with harsher whines. And interestingly, older dogs had harsher vocalizations, harsher whines, which can be due to the fact that their neural control is not so good compared to younger individuals. So in sum, we can conclude that the noisiness of the whines can be good indicators of the stress level of the individual in separation, and also might be a good indicator of age-related decline in dogs. And with that, thank you for your attention.